Hail to the football team. Hail victory. Yeah, you're right. That did sound good. I'm sure that'll be a great
Yeah.
intro. That'll get our viewer retention up for today. So
hmm
we're talking about the Washington football team, and you can lead us off.
All right. I mean, when you look at highlights for the football team, just game to game, the one guy that stands out the most, I think, is Antonio Gibson. He is a stud in their backfield. He really has solidified himself as their back, which is funny because, I mean, couple seasons ago, it just the talent that was in that backfield, now it hasn't panned out with Darius Geis and Bryce Love back there. It looked like they could have had a 3-4 headed monster, but Antonio Gibson has come out on top like all Memphis running backs do, and has shown that he is one of the best backs in the league. Scary Terry, I feel like he is going to be a household name by the end of next season, if he isn't already. I know he is there in the DMV area where the football team plays, but league wide, coast to coast, I think people are going to know Terry McLaurin now that he's going to have consistency from the quarterback spot. I'm not saying consistent play. I'm just saying he's going to know the guy that is under center every week, and it's not just going to be a coin toss like it was last season for him. Their defense is insane. It is so young, and the talent production that they get, or the talent on there is very young, and the production they get from that talent is something that is pretty unprecedented. Seeing so many guys in their first, second year just producing right away, when it seems like in the modern NFL, every coaching staff and everyone in the media is like, you have to wait 3 years for a defensive lineman to develop, or 2 years. And Chase Young, Montez Sweat, and those guys just coming right out of the draft and putting up numbers for them. Like I said, with Scary Terry, the QB position really killed him. Just not having that consistent starter back there, you can't really do much. Just you gotta hope and pray that you win games and make it into the playoffs, and that's exactly what every team in the NFC East was doing, and the football team did it the best, so they got rewarded for that. And their offense in general just needed more firepower too. That's what I saw going back looking through games. It's just having Logan Thomas be like your number two option when you drop back to pass, really not that solid. Like Logan Thomas, decent tight end, but if you're looking downfield and you're like, oh, I got 82 and I got Scary Terry and he's got three guys all over him. Uh, but other than that, I got nothing else on him. What about you?
Can't wait for one of the Sims bros to have a ball thrown straight into their chest with no one within 15 yards of them and drop it.
Doink it right off their helmet.
Yeah, that's my favorite thing. The D-line is the first thing that jumps off the paper at you. I mean, it's not even just that. It's the fact that, like, no matter what, you watch a game and you can immediately see how much of an impact the D-line has. You know what's funny is early in the season, Dontrell Inman is a prominent role. He has a prominent role early in the season, and that just shows that in the passing game how much they needed like other receivers. Like why is he like a main part of an offense early in the year, especially in 2020. Terry McLaurin is that dude. He can do everything. Love him. It feels like it's been decades since we actually saw Dwayne Haskins on the field, but it was just last season. And then I just reiterate to myself like 100 times, Terry McLaurin can do anything in my notes for this season. With how the first half went against Cleveland, they were lucky to be able to drive down the field at the start of the second half and then only be down 4 after scoring a touchdown. The Cleveland game was just it showed like the lack of talent on offense just because they what did they do? I mean, I think I write it later in here. They fumbled 4 times in the game and threw 3 interceptions. It was pretty tremendous what they managed to do. Also, I knew before, I can't praise Antonio Gibson as much as you can because before last season, I knew he was going to be the number 1 running back for this offense, and I knew he was going to put up numbers because I was just I was doing this for fantasy, and I was like, okay, let me find those running backs that are just going to be steal guys. And it's like, yeah, I mean, like, Peyton Barber and J.D. McKissick are okay, but do I really think that they're going to hold this rookie off from getting carries? And I thought, no way. So he was a really good steal of a draft pick in fantasy drafts last year. We'll have to see. And they probably have a receiver this year that's going to be a steal too, so we'll talk about him at some point. I don't know if Logan Thomas is the guy I want is at tight end 1. And what's funny is I wrote that, and then you'll see slowly as I do more and more notes, it just progresses away from that completely. So my thoughts on Logan Thomas have completely changed throughout my experience watching back some games. I said, wow, these Haskins throws are atrocious. So good thing they moved on from him. McLaurin is literally the only guy on the team last season I trust as a receiver. So, I mean, that's saying something. Thomas is probably better than I give him credit for. And then there's another Thomas note later. Everyone else drops a lot of balls because they do. I mean, they may have been able to take that playoff game to overtime if, like, the first 3 drives of the game didn't seemingly stall out because, like I said, Cam Sims, Steven Sims were having Heineke hit them in the hands and just drop the ball and just on third down and stuff. It was terrible. Yeah, Thomas is actually like significantly better than I said. Like he's probably actually an above average tight end, which is hard to admit when he moved on from our team. And considering now that that's probably our team's biggest weakness in Buffalo. That's kind of sad. So maybe that's just why it's hard for me to accept that he's decent. This secondary played really well last year. I don't really have anybody specific to pick out, but they did. Cam Sims played a decent game against Pittsburgh, which surprised me because it was just decent. But, even still, even watching the highlights back, I still get to see him drop. He dropped at least one ball in the highlights, so that was good. Third down, easy third down to pick up, and he hit him in the hands and dropped it. The linebackers are the only players on the defense I don't love because, like we said, this defense is tremendous, but I think the linebacker position is really the only position group on the defense that you could pick out like, I don't know if I love it. I stopped watching most of the Eagles game week 17 when Sudfeld got in, but I tuned in again right before the last drive of the game, but I hadn't seen until now that they're like, at least that I remember, there being a 4th and inches offsides where a D lineman drives his body at Alex Smith's leg. It's like one of the dirtiest things I've ever seen, and it was like it was obvious too. That was not anything I like to see at all. And then finally, the last game I watched was, of course, the playoff game again because hashtag let Taylor cook, but. His ability to evade does make him a different candidate from their other quarterback options before. Like, there wasn't anybody that was able to move like he can. And I feel like people go to rocket screens too often now on 2-point conversions. Like, I don't know why New England converted it in the Super Bowl. And really, it was still kind of close against the Falcons. And for some reason, tons of teams now are trying to run, like, motion rocket screens on 2-point conversions, and I just don't like the success rate on that. I don't know why teams would keep doing that. No matter who they have at QB, they will have a much more conducive environment to success than last season, just because of everything that's going to be put around the offense. And Heineke really has a lot of playmaking potential, and I just need people to remember that. Don't completely sell Taylor Heineke out. Because honestly, if we want to talk about like guys that are old that are still getting like considered to be like the first time starting quarterbacks, I mean, we got Taysom Hill who's like going on age 31 or age 32 season this year, and it's like, oh well, he's going to be a starting quarterback for the first time. Taylor Heineke's 3 years younger than him. Why couldn't he be a starting quarterback? I mean. I know we'll have Fitzpatrick there to start, but if Fitzpatrick ever is taken out of the game for whatever reason, I'm excited to see Heineke still. So, and then the scoring in the Bucks football team game was just weird. It was just wild the way like the scores fluctuated because we had missed extra points and missed 2-point conversions and field goals that it just made the numbers look weird. But yeah, it was a fun game to watch. That's all I got for that.
For the stats section of their 2020 season recap here, I mean, I don't always get a lot because you just have your spreadsheet full of them here, so I'm just gonna say some stuff that I thought was funny. Alex Smith only had one loss as a starter for that team, which is hilarious, just because of, I don't want to say how bad the team was. The team won their division, but they went 7-9. Going 7-9 and Alex Smith only losing one start is kind of insane.
I think
What?
I think that's a testament to competent quarterback play when you have at least some other portion of your team that is very good. So in this case, it's basically just the defense as a whole, mostly because of the defensive line makes the defense really good. But it is crazy, like just him being able to produce at just a very mediocre, basically, level allowed them to win the majority of the games he started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was. I remember the game when he got in, and I was kind of losing it because I was like, oh my goodness, Alex Smith is getting in the football game. He's actually going to touch the football field, and then he got rocked like 3 plays later, and I was like, is Alex Smith dead? Did Aaron Donald jump on his back and snap both of his legs now? But it was really nice to see him bring some kind of consistency to that team, just even at a mediocre level at the quarterback position. J.D. McKissick being second in total receptions is mind-boggling. Him catching that many balls just shows the lack of playmakers that offense had. Just, I understand Alex Smith does like the dump off, but geez, the running back should not be getting that many targets and catches. Guys need to be getting open. Need to not be dropping balls like the Sims bros. I think that's going to be something that we're going to harp on, especially when we get to free agency and the guys that they brought in. And just the sack production all across that defensive line is insane.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Antonio Gibson, 4.7 yards per carry. That's awesome. He will definitely be the full-time RB1 next season, barring injury. That's awesome again. So he'll probably be a solid fantasy guy again. But I mean, you won't be able to steal him as easily. People know about him now. You'll have to find somebody else to steal. Terry McLaurin, 1,118 yards on 87 catches and 4 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns isn't a lot, but we know. Come on, who else do you need to cover when you're facing their offense? Logan Thomas had 670 yards and 6 touchdowns, though, and 65.5 catch percentage, which was higher than McLaurin's. McKissick was third on the team in receiving yards, not receptions. Second in receptions, as you said, but 589 yards receiving. The return game was trash. Dustin Hopkins wasn't too great, but he didn't miss any field goals that were too close, so that's okay. And defensively, Kendall Fuller had 4 INTs, Cameron Curl 3 interceptions. Darby and Fuller both had 10-plus passes defended. Chase Young, 4 forced fumbles. Deron Payne, 3 forced fumbles. 9 sacks for Montez Sweat, 7.5 for Chase Young. And 118 tackles for John Bostic. Doesn't feel like these linebackers do too much besides just, run and make tackles once, like, the D-line eats up all the blocks. And Cameron Curl was actually second on the team with 88 tackles, so I would have thought Cole Holcomb, I think his name is, would have been second, but Cameron Curl was second with 88. Also, in terms of tackles for loss, 12 for Sweat, 10 for Chase Young. And there were 3 double-digit players in terms of quarterback hits last season, which is amazing. So that's what
Let's go to free agent gains here for him. I think the most notable gain out of all of them is Ryan Fitzpatrick. Brian Fitz, I cannot give him a fun nickname anymore because I've been told by football teams that
you
it is
can say
wrong.
Fitzmagic. You can't say the other one.
Oh, okay.
No, but
I'll just stick to Fitzpatrick.
I was really hoping you were going to say Adam Humphries right there.
Oh, well, that's number 2 on my list, Adam Humphries.
Okay.
But in actuality, looking at their free agency haul, it's probably Curtis Samuel from the Panthers there. He gives them a legitimate wide receiver too, and just a guy that you can move all over the field for him. He's an insane athlete at that position, and someone that Ron Rivera is familiar with from Carolina. Ryan Fitzpatrick, obviously. Adam Humphries, another reliable slot receiver that makes easy catches. And that's what you want. They had no one on the team that could make routine catches routinely, and they bring in Adam Humphries to do exactly that.
Yeah.
They get Charles Leno Jr. after the Bears release him, shore up that offensive line more. Replace Ronald Darby with Will Jackson III. Get Bobby McCain from the Dolphins. I had no idea the Dolphins didn't re-sign him or released him or whatever. That was kind of a shocker there. I know we already went over the Dolphins. I must have missed him. They also get Eric Flowers in a trade from Miami, so they bring in a revolving door to play tackle for them. Hopefully he doesn't start, because I do not want Taylor Heineke or Ryan Fitzpatrick getting murdered off the edge. Tyler Larson comes in to play center. Probably going to be a starter. Shore up that offensive line even more. I love it. And to replace Jeremy Sprinkle, they get Ricky Seals-Jones from Kansas City.
Man, you have a different perspective than I do sometimes. No, the only guy that I have that you didn't mention was Darryl Roberts. Yeah, I just think I'm interested in Bobby McCain and Darryl Roberts because I think one of those two guys is probably gonna play nickel, because I don't really know who played nickel for them last year, or if they just didn't really try it much, or what happened. But I feel like they've got their safety position kind of locked up, and I guess I don't really know what happened with Landon Collins last season either. I feel like he must have been injured, because I don't see a world where he's not on the field in that playoff game. I don't remember him being on the field, though. So I feel like he must have been hurt, because the other white safety, what's his name? Davis? I don't know. Troy Apke. It's Troy Apke. Is it Troy Apke?
Yeah, Troy Apke.
Sorry.
Ashton Davis is on the Jets, I think.
Yes, Ashton Davis is on the Jets. You're right. But yeah, so he was on the field a lot for them. I don't know if they would consider putting Apke at nickel corner, because then you have Collins and Curl playing at the safety spots. But I do think that, like I've said a lot on here, I think I've said that the nickel position really is a starting position nowadays, so it's pretty important.
Mm-hmm.
Adam Humphries as a slot player is awesome to me, because, you know, they've kind of got three guys in front of him that I feel like basically could play any receiver position, and he just brings solid hands to the table. Charles Leno is good because Morgan Moses is unsigned. They didn't bring him back. Not really sure what's up with that, but maybe he's just old age or something. I don't know. He's only 30. But then Ryan Fitzpatrick is great because, you know, you got to bring in another veteran QB, because Alex Smith is obviously done, but he was the one who had the most success, so it makes sense to bring in another guy like that. Curtis Samuel, he's just like Terry McLaurin in the fact that I feel like he can play any receiver position and run any route. And I mean, on top of that, he could line up at like running back too, which makes him even more interesting. And the fact that they lost Ronald Darby it's great that they got William Jackson, because he can be a solid starting corner and replace Darby pretty easily.
Yeah. To their losses now. Their losses are more affected by guys that they haven't signed yet than guys that have signed elsewhere. But the guys that have signed elsewhere are obviously the bigger named guys, because teams actually want them. They lose Alex Smith to retirement. No one signed Bryce Love. He's only mentionable because he was a Heisman candidate a couple seasons ago. Then he went to the football team, and those injuries just haven't stopped. Randy Moss's son, Thaddeus Moss, he went to the Bengals. Ronald Darby went to the Broncos. Both the Ryans, Kerrigan and Anderson, signed in division, but with different teams, so that's kind of interesting, but I don't think they need them anymore. They got all this young talent. Just let those guys run wild. No need in having the old guys hold them back now. Jeremy Sprinkle is gone. And then both the Foster brothers, and Robert and Ruben. Ruben hasn't been signed. Robert Foster signed with the Dolphins.
Yeah, to me, the only two guys that I even wanted to mention, because I thought, I feel like if guys are unsigned, like they could still bring them back at any time. Mm-hmm. And so that was the first thing, and then the second thing was just that the two guys that I even want to talk about, I don't feel like they were big deal losses. Yeah, Ryan Kerrigan's gone, but geez, the D line is absolutely loaded. He was basically sitting on the bench for them. That's not a big deal. And Ronald Darby is gone too, who was a good player for them, but they signed 3 corners, and I think you're going to be able to get a starting caliber one out of one of those 3 guys. They're all names that I'm familiar with, to say the least.
Yeah. And with more gains, we go to the draft now. Their first round pick was kind of one that you and I were scratching our heads on draft day about, but looking back through their team, I don't hate the pick as much as I did when it first went through. Jamin Davis, or as you affectionately like to call him, Jamin Davis. He is a very athletic linebacker that we were. I think he was in the middle of both of our lists for our linebacker rankings. He was hovering around the 6'5" area, somewhere around that. He's athletic, but just the one thing that we had a knock on him for is no plays were really like, wow, what a play. It's just he's fast and makes athletic plays. Nothing really eye-opening about it.
Yeah, I can't remember. So I guess sorry, I'm responding to you. So I guess we can just go back and forth, player to player, pick to pick.
Yeah.
I almost think that's better than going back and forth like we usually do for like the whole list. This is probably better, honestly. Yeah, I think the only I'm trying to remember right now who else I could have put in front of him, but the 3 guys I know I had in front of him were JOK, absolutely, Parsons, and Zaven Collins. Those 3 guys were definitely in front of him. And at this point, I'm pretty sure, did the Cardinals pick Collins a few picks earlier or later?
No, the Cardinals picked him a few picks earlier.
Okay, just making sure. That was kind of surprising as well, but it was basically just the idea that we both really liked Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, and then teams got scared off by the health issue, which all I have to say about Jamin Davis is, yeah, I think he'll be a fine player, and I think they definitely did right by selecting a position that they needed. And all that we can really say is that I don't know if that was the best linebacker available at that pick, but he can still be solid. I just would have taken him a little bit later, but seeing the positional need, I can't knock the pick too much. It's like it's still like perfect for what this team needs to do.
And if there's any team that can develop young defensive talent, it's going to be the football team, because they have shown the past couple seasons that they are insane when it comes to that, or at least just drafting great young defensive talent. Another pick to make their offensive line solid, and Samuel Cosme, who I think in my mock draft I had him going to the football team in the 2nd round. So go me.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's really impressive. So Sam Cosme, I know we usually don't go back and watch linemen, but I figured 2nd round pick. I'll take a look at him today. I just watched a little blurb of his. It just seems like a very solid run blocker, and I think he'll be a good offensive tackle. It just didn't see a lot of stuff. All like the pop plays were in the run game that he was showing off. So I'm just wondering, he probably has to work on his pass protection a little bit more. But I mean, judging from his ability in the run game, I mean, I like the pick. It makes sense to me. The thing that's funny about the way this draft plays out, though, is that like these first 3 picks, like I kind of have like a little bit up in the air on them, but then like after the 3rd pick, I really like basically everything they did like later in the draft.
Yeah, and their first 3rd round pick that they had here in Benjamin St. Juste, which is awesome, because when I first read his name I was like Just, but it's not, it's Juiced. So love that name. 6'3", very lanky corner. He sticks to guys very well, but there's just some times where I think he's getting a little too ahead of himself on plays where he's just ready to like nail a guy, and he swings and misses.
Yeah, interesting being 6'3". I mean, and playing the corner position, that definitely does make you stick out immediately. I'm guessing he opted out in 2020 because I was only
Yes.
seeing stuff on him from 2019. I can't say I love him because it feels like one of those guys I've talked about in the past that is just like a really physical corner that I don't get sold on very easily. Obviously, that can work in the NFL, but I feel like you kind of need the equal opposite to that guy, and I don't think that the Washington football team has the guy that would be able to play opposite him and be like just as physical and sizey. So I feel like he's going to be sitting on the bench, and I don't love it as a third round pick. If they took this guy a little bit later, kind of like the other two guys in front of him, I would have been a lot more excited about the pick. But yeah, 6'3" at the corner position. That's pretty interesting to say the least.
Yeah, he gets up there and gets physical. He tries to jam guys a lot with how close he is to the line, but uh the NFL is a little bit different than competition Minnesota plays, so he might get burned on that. I'll let you take away their next pick
Oh,
here since this is your
you
dream.
know. Oh my gosh, De'Ami Brown is an awesome receiver, and I just felt like I did him a disservice by not even watching him for a receiver video. So I just really want to apologize to all our loyal fans who didn't get to hear me talk about him during our receiver video. I later actually went back and watched him because Chris Sims was talking him up so much, and I was like, what could possibly be so great about this guy? Because no one else is seemingly talking about him except Chris Sims. And then I watched him and I said, nope, he's dead on. He's like, in terms of ability, his play style is just like AJ Brown. And if you've watched us here for a little while, you know that we love AJ Brown. He's honestly like arguably the best receiver in the leagues. In the league, sorry. At least in our opinions, it would just be that he would need to get the targets that it, other crazy receivers get, like Devontae Adams or Stephon Diggs. I think he would be right there if he got those type of targets. And De'Ami Brown is just like that. In terms of college, the thing that people may knock him for is he feels like he runs like DK Metcalf's route tree, in that he just runs deep balls and go balls all the time. But, I mean, he kills coverages with it because of his speed. And the thing is, if he catches a ball underneath, he can still make moves and break away from the defense, just like A.J. Brown, whether that's with physicality or, like, actually, like, making some moves in the open field to get away from defenders. He's an awesome receiver. I love him. And the only thing that I have to say about him in my comparisons that's kind of, like, a little off is that because I compare him to A.J. Brown and DK Metcalf, he's not quite as strong as them, but in terms of ability, he can do anything you would ask a receiver to do, and that's why I'm really excited for Washington's receivers this season, because they've got three guys in Curtis Samuel, Terry McLaurin, and De'Ami Brown that I think all can do anything at the receiver position. And you've got a guy that's going to be in the slot in Adam Humphries that you can definitely trust as well. So he can't be moved around as much, but three guys that you can move all over the place, that is dangerous.
Yeah, I'll admit, when we did our wide receiver evaluations, De'Ami Brown was towards the bottom of my list, and that is because I did not give his film a fair evaluation. I watched Amon-Ra St. Brown right before him, and I thought those two were just one and the same because Amon-Ra St. Brown only does one thing, and that's go deep and catch a ball that is thrown perfectly to him. De'Ami Brown does way more than that. And I missed that the first time I watched him, and I'll admit, because we both didn't talk about him because of how far low he was on my list and how he wasn't even on yours.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I watched 12 guys, which isn't a ton, but geez, to go through a list, like I'm going through somebody else's list, obviously, and for him to not appear in the top 12, it's wild to me. It doesn't make any sense at all.
Mm-hmm. The moves that he can do after the catch are insane. It is more than just a guy like Amon-Ra St. Brown, where it's just my goal is to run straight and for you to get the ball perfectly to me. He can work in space very well, make guys miss. There are a couple times where I think his route tree, I agree with you, at North Carolina, very, very limited. It looked like it was a curl or a go, and that was it.
It was
But when
slant
they would
once in
hit,
a while.
yeah, slant once in a while. But that curl, when they would hit him with that, he would make the guy that's right on his back miss as soon as he caught that ball. It was insane to see him work in space and see the guys miss and see him leap 5 yards and extend to get that ball into the end zone. Uh, he's a
Yeah,
great
that
athlete,
play's
and
crazy.
just seeing the football team now have three wide receivers that are super athletic and can make a ton of crazy catches and do a lot after the catch with it. It's gonna be they're gonna be a fun team to watch.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, Adam Humphries to finish it off. I mean, I don't know how
Yeah,
many four wide
sorry,
receiver
four.
sets. I don't know how many four wide receiver sets they're gonna have, but it's just like, oh geez, the other three insane athletes couldn't figure out how to beat a coverage. Well, guess what? We've got one of the best like slot receiving, just short route runners in the league that for sure is gonna get open if the three other insane athletes we have can't.
Mm-hmm. Their fourth round pick, they used that on a tight end because just that. At, I know that you've become more of a Logan Thomas apologizer at this point, but that is kind of the weaker spot of their offense there. They get a guy out of Boise. No, don't see a lot of tremendous athletes like John Bates coming out of Boise. The big fella makes a ton of tough catches. He is getting thumped going up in the air, catching these balls. It's insane. He kind of had like a Dawson Knox-esque college career. He did catch touchdowns, but for a while there, he did not catch any touchdowns, man. I think until last season. So he went his freshman and sophomore year, which he was a starter for both of those, I think, doing nothing. And just burst onto the scene his junior year, catching some touchdown passes. A big guy like him, like he's pretty bulky. He can get up and he mosses some guys while also just getting cracked in the back. Crown of helmets going straight to his spine, and he takes it like a champ. I really like John Bates.
Yeah. So I'm glad you gave him a fair assessment because honestly, I just watched him and I kind of made a meme out of it. I was like, he's wearing 85, the last four letters of his five-letter last name being ATES. So maybe promising like another guy with a similar last name that wore 85 named Gates. I mean, so just
Oh, I
two.
thought you were gonna say Lee Smith.
Yeah, no, not Lee Smith. But those two similarities, you don't see those very often. So maybe he's got a promising career. I mean, no, in terms of depth though, like I think they're too deep at the quarterback position with Heineke and Fitzpatrick. I think they're four deep at the receiver position at this point because they just picked De'Ami Brown with their last pick. I think the offensive line's solid too, which is one of like my closing remarks for this team. And it's just I don't get to say it like during the actual process here. Yeah, no, I think that it actually makes sense that you would look at tight end and actually say it's still weak. Because even though I say Logan Thomas is better than I was giving credit for, there's really not another guy. If Logan Thomas goes down, it's still going to be a bad situation. So I like this pick, and I was impressed with him. Once again, this was another guy that I was surprised I didn't even get to see before today. I thought he was better than some of the other guys I watched when we checked out
Yeah,
tight ends.
yeah. There are so many tight ends in this draft where their trait was no one covers me, and to see John Bates out there in the Mountain West just going to town on guys was
Moss and
awesome.
kids.
Mm-hmm. Oh, it was fantastic. Their next pick is a safety, and I know how much you like your safeties here, and we overlooked this guy. I think
I
I
don't.
really like.
No, he was he was pretty high on my list. I can't remember
Oh, he
where
was.
he was. I think. Jeez, I'd have to get the paper out and actually check, but I'll get back to you. Talk about him.
Okay, he wasn't on mine at all, so I felt like really dumb going back looking at him. Derek Gotcha Forrest. Uh I mean if you're a defensive back and your nickname is Gotcha, it doesn't get much better than that, man. He had some insane interceptions, just one-handers, tipping the ball up, bringing it down, great stuff. And then the hard hits, dude. I mean, the one obviously is I think it was Ohio State. He's just lighting up the one dude on the sideline there, and the ball's getting tossed up in the air for an incompletion. Just That was replayed on like so many highlight reels. Just wasn't shown just once.
Sorry, was it? You know what? It was this kid from Cincinnati.
Yeah.
No, I didn't even see him. I didn't even see him.
Oh.
I'm. I saw the other James Wiggins is from Cincinnati too, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I didn't even see this guy when we did safeties. It's crazy how
Yeah.
many prospects there are. I mean, geez, we'd literally have to watch. Apparently, next year we're gonna have to watch literally like every single guy in the country play just to make sure that we didn't miss anybody like crazy. Because yeah, no, I didn't even check this guy out. And yeah, what I have to say about him is he's a ball hawk, amazing breaking on the ball, and I'm pretty sure I liked him a lot pre-draft, but I didn't because, like I said, it was Wiggins, I think. But yeah, no. Once again, just another guy we overlooked, but yeah, I love this pick.
Mm-hmm. Now, their next pick, another guy that we overlooked here, Cameron Cheeseman, long snapper. What do you got to say about him?
I am fine. 6th round pick. You need to fill a position. I'm actually I will never knock a team for taking a guy, especially if it's like a position. You use a 6th round pick on a guy that you're guaranteed to keep for 4 years and is guaranteed to be on the like team. Like, I don't get how you could say that's a bad thing. I like this pick. I didn't check a lot of his film out, but
No, there was a lot of long snapper movement this offseason. But yeah, I don't understand guys that when they look through drafts and they immediately give long snappers an F grade just because, like, oh, why would you waste a pick on a long snapper? Because he's probably not going to be there at the end of the draft. Because if one team's thinking about drafting him, probably a bunch of other teams are thinking about drafting him too.
I don't even care about that. I think about it from this perspective. That 6th round like big boy D tackle who we've talked about before, who has no skills at all in terms of actual football ability.
Tyler
and
Shelton
just-
was higher than a 6th round pick.
no,
He was higher than a 6th
I
round
know.
pick.
I'm talking about the kid that we talked about like last episode.
Oh,
but yes,
Kyrus
no.
Tonga?
Tyler Shelvin is the basically embodiment of this, where it's like no skill at all, but we're just gonna pick him, and he won't even be on a team in probably 3 years. He'll get cut and he'll never play again. Then spending a 6th round pick on a guy that could be on your team for like 20 seasons because long snappers legitimately play that long sometimes is not a bad thing, especially if he does his job well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love the pick. Love the pick. Then in their 7th round, I like the shots that they took here in the 7th, with William Bradley King being the first. He's a disruptor, man. Very, very different than some of the other edge rushers that are already on the team. With Chase Young and those guys, where it's all speed. He's out here bullying guys. Very technical with what he does, using his length and his arms to his advantage to disrupt to get to the quarterback. One thing that I did notice though was he just can't get there. Like the QB's just faster than him. He's like yakety sax is playing when this guy's chasing after the QB trying to bring him down.
Oh, jeez. Well, I mean, I said I liked him. He uses his hands in the modern day, which is rare because, we're just trying to run around the edge all the time. Honestly, like, and then they go, sorry, I'm grouping these guys together just because they play the same position. Shaka Toney, number 18 for Penn State. I remember watching, like, the Penn State highlights for other guys and being like, wait, who's number 18? And I never got to know until now. It's Shaka Toney. He would pop a lot, and I was watching his stuff for other guys on Penn State's defense, like I said, and I like him too. These two guys, like, it's funny that they're adding to their defensive line, but defensive line is a position that you kind of can have guys pop in and out all the time to be fresh. It's just crazy how many bodies they're going to have to actually move in and out of there. But I actually like both of these guys, especially as 7th round picks.
Yeah, Shaka Toney, his get off is insane. Like he's more of the speed kind of guy, but as soon as that ball is snapped, he is there. He just very, very quick with everything he does. And now their last 7th round pick, and I don't know why, but I wrote down, like, even before I really watched him, I was just like, what's up with the football team and just drafting a white receiver with their last pick in the draft every time? But I'm just thinking about
Trey
what's his
Quinn.
name? Yeah, Trey Quinn. Uh, he made Zach Wilson look good. There, the dude cannot be tackled, man. He cannot be tackled.
No,
I think it's a.
I'm not. I'm just gonna go
I,
no comment here, and you can say whatever you want. I don't even think he's
I
gonna make
think
the
he's
roster.
I think he's the better of the two wide receivers they drafted. He just. I granted he's going up against BYU competition, so I mean we can't really say Zach Wilson's bad because he didn't do well against BYU competition, but and then say I mean Dax Milne. He made BYU competition look like babies, man. He looked like he was playing high schoolers out there. He was mossing guys. He was staying in bounds like a pro. He was earning extra yards if guys were trying to bring him down. He always has a nose for the end zone. I loved his film.
I don't usually write things down for players before I've watched them, but I just wrote 7th round wide receiver BYU. This should be entertaining.
And it was. Don't tell me it wasn't entertaining to watch.
Okay. Unrestricted or undrafted free agents.
Wait, hold on. I got one more note on him. He was Zach Wilson's roommate in college too. So
Good. So now they've got the insight on the Jets for when they play them.
Oh yeah.
Which isn't this season because I just looked at the schedule. Jarrett Patterson, their one undrafted free agent. I'm sorry, but there's plenty of running backs already on this team, and didn't even mention like healthy Lamar Miller, and still Peyton Barber, and still J.D. McKissick, and still Antonio Gibson, and I'm pretty sure there was even like another name that I would still rank ahead of Jarrett Patterson. His numbers looked crazy at UB, but it was literally just because of the tremendous O-line that he looked absolutely amazing. And I'm just happy that scouts recognized this because he really didn't show me anything that would have been like, oh, he should have gotten drafted.
Yeah, I was afraid that's like, love him. Hometown kid. But now he's not from Buffalo, but he went to UB. I'm glad that scouts get recognized that a guy's like, he is getting 450 yards in a game because the offensive line is just flattening everyone in front of him and he is running wild against no one.
He's running in a straight line after he breaks through the hole, and there's nobody anywhere near him to tackle him. It's just like,
yeah,
I could hand the ball to a kid who's never played football and get 20 yards every play.
Yeah.
I like to see that UB's somehow creating amazing offensive lines now, though. I don't know what's up with that. Mm-hmm. That just seems weird.
Can't wait for the next couple of drafts to just be like, wow, all these offensive linemen at UB are going in like the 3rd round.
Yeah, that'll be something. That'll be wild. Or they'll go undrafted and then they'll be like crazy like steals for teams.
Oh yeah.
You ready to talk about their schedule?
Oh yeah, I'm ready to talk about their schedule.
All right. Oh shoot, I didn't check the over under. My bad. I forgot. Would you like me to go first?
Job.
Would you like me to go first so you can check it while I go?
Yeah, sure.
All right. So week 1, I've got they go up against the Los Angeles Chargers. The Los Angeles Chargers have to go to FedEx Field in Landover, Maryland, and I think that means that I think the Chargers could have this game have a chance in this game if this game was at home for the Chargers. But roster wise, I think the Washington football team significantly better. I think that's a W. New York Giants, I also think that's a W. They've got them at home as well. I think they're a significantly better roster still. Then they come to our Buffalo Bills stadium, and they've kind of got their first real challenge. I'm not completely counting them out of this game, but I will say that I think this will be a loss for the time being. I think that their roster is right there, like in terms of the talent on it, but I think they would need to be deeper in the season to really give us a run for our money, just considering how much output I feel like our offense is going to be able to have next season. I feel like Buffalo's going to have plenty of points scored, even against a tough defense like Washington's, and they may just have trouble keeping up with that early in the season. Then they go to Atlanta. I think they're a significantly better roster than Atlanta. I was actually reviewing Atlanta again earlier, just because I was going back through all the other teams that we've talked about so far, or at least I've gotten through 6 of them so far, in terms of trying to figure out how I'm going to power rank these teams in August, right? Because we're going to do that in August. Um, and Atlanta's roster, just overall, they've still got a lot of holes to fill, especially without Julio Jones. That hurts them even more. I think this is a pretty easy W. New Orleans, I want to pick Washington in this game, but I feel like they're going to have some growing pains this season, like I said. And I feel like New Orleans is a team that is definitely going to be coached well and has plenty of talent on their roster too to be able to beat the Washington football team, even though Washington will be home in this game. So I think that's an L for the time being. In the following week, they play Kansas City. Everybody knows Kansas City's like one of the top teams in the league, so it's not surprising for me to say that this is an L. But don't worry, I'm not going to put them on a 3-game losing streak because they're going to go to Green Bay, and I'm going to say that's a W. I'm just not even going to mention Aaron Rodgers, even though I just did. I'm just going to say it's a W, and we're not going to make this stupid thing that we say every time we talk about a team that plays the Packers. Then on Halloween, they play at Denver, and I think they're a significantly better team than the Denver Broncos, so that's a W as well. Sadly, their bye week is on my birthday, and because my birthday falls on that Sunday, I was just like, really? One of the teams I'm most excited to watch this year isn't playing on my birthday? That's so sad. Following week, they go to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay, just like Kansas City, kind of sucks for them that they catch them both in their schedule, but I think that's an L as well, just because, they're kind of above where Washington is at this point. Washington could develop, but they're still above it for the time being. Now, this late end of the schedule, I think this is awesome. I think they've got plenty of talent to absolutely destroy in this ending section here from November 21st to January 9th. At Carolina, I don't think that Carolina is going to stand much of a chance against Washington. Significantly better roster. W. Seattle, I also think that their roster is better than Seattle. I'm really interested to see what happens with Russell Wilson this season, but for the time being, we'll say W for Washington. At Las Vegas, really down on the Raiders. Really don't like what they did at all this offseason, so that's a W. Then the weird thing is, in the final 5 weeks of the season, they have five divisional games in the final 5 weeks of the season. I have no idea how they put that on this schedule, and the NFL okayed that, but they did. Dallas, they played Dallas for the first time on December 12th. I think that Dallas is actually their really only competition in the NFC East. I'm saying this is a W. Then the following week, they play Philadelphia. Once again, Philadelphia, another team that I reviewed recently. Their roster's still very poor. I think this is a W at Philadelphia. The following game, though, at Dallas, I could see them dropping. This is kind of to make up for another spot. I feel like just because they kind of are just like either a young / like new players on their team. I don't say if that I was just picking this matchup head to head, I would pick Dallas, even in Dallas, but I feel like I need to give them one more loss because otherwise I'm getting a little too far away. So I think this is a spot where it could happen. December 26th at Dallas, that's a loss there. And then they finish out with Philadelphia again and New York again. And like I said, I think they're significantly better than both those teams in terms of their roster. So those are 2 W's. And my record prediction for this team is 12-5. Like we've made it very clear many times, this team is very exciting to me, at least. And just because I probably haven't mentioned them to this point, I feel like their O-line is really solid. And I actually did mention that earlier, but I do feel like their O-line is pretty solid, especially with what they added. That's going to help this team even more. And it's going to help the plethora of weapons on offense explode this season, I'm guessing. And really, I just think that their entire team should be solid overall. Their defense was great last year. They've added a ton on offense. I don't see any reason that this team can't be really competitive in the NFC.
Yeah, their over-under is 8.5.
Yeah, so once again, this is the second team in a row where we're kind of strongly going with the over, which for me at
Oh, you
least.
don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, no,
You don't know what I'm
no,
doing.
I don't know what you're doing, but I'm talking about me. Sorry, and I use we when I'm talking about me for some reason, which is not a good habit. But yeah, two in a row, very strong overs, which is interesting. I'm very interested to hear what you have to say. I don't know
Oh yeah.
I really have no idea what you're about to say.
All right. So week 1, they pull a tough one here, going up against Brandon Staley and the Chargers. I'm very, very high on the Chargers and Brandon Staley. Two great defenses going toe to toe. And I think you just got to look at what team has the better offense here. And what we've seen as of now, it's the Chargers. So I'm going to give the Chargers this one, even though it's at the Washington football team. It's kind of an even matchup here, but they're going to start the season off with an L. But that's fine because the NFL compensated for that, and they gave them a bounce back game here against the Giants week 2. So that's an easy win for them. They head to Buffalo for their 17th official game here. And they get an L there. I don't want to be too much of a homer, but I think the Bills are just a way better team than them. Their defense is good, but the Bills' offense is way better. But again, bounce back game at Atlanta. Not that I'm saying Atlanta is going to be a team to sleep on, because I think Atlanta is going to be a very middle of the road team that is going to be competitive. I think they get a win against them. I think the next week at home, I think they get a win against New Orleans. It's going to be early-ish in the season. Don't really know if at this point the Saints are going to have it all figured out. Now, this is kind of late to be questioning if they have it all figured out here, but it's possible. Home especially, I think they get a win here. Now's here, they're kind of dying off that high a little bit. Home against Kansas City, that's going to be an L. Kansas City's one of the top teams here in the league. At Green Bay, as of right now, Aaron Rodgers is on the team, so I'm going to act like Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback. That's at Green Bay too, so that's an L. I think they accumulate those 2 losses going into Mile High, the altitude. I think they might pull a loss here against Denver. Just 2 hard losses there, looking ahead to the bye week. I don't think they're going to be too focused on this. Very young team. So I think they lose to the Broncos. They go into their bye. All right. They're hungry. All right. They just lost to the Denver Broncos. Probably just picked up their first win of the season here against them. All right. They're hungry. And they're going against a team that didn't improve at all in the offseason. They brought back everyone, but they played them in the playoff game and they played them tight. And they got better. I think that they win against Tampa Bay at home. If you look at the 2 teams, very competitive game. What is the only team that brought in new, fresh blood to get better? It's the football team. Tampa Bay didn't do that. Tampa Bay brought everyone back. You don't do that. You don't do that to get better. The football team, they're going to pick up this dub at home against Tampa. And then, just like you, they go on a big winning streak here. At Carolina, dub. Home against Seattle, dub. At Vegas, dub. Home against Dallas, who I think they split with too, dub. At Philly, dub. And then it ends here at Dallas, because these division games are tough, and I also think Dallas is going to be fairly competitive as well. Might be 2 teams in the NFC East that pick up double-digit wins this season, which is insane to think about after the atrocity that it was last season. Home against Philly, dub, and then ending the season at the Giants, dub, giving them an 11-6 record, and winning the NFC East actually.
Oh yeah, no, I got them winning the East. I'd take that bet in a breeze. Oh no, so you're not actually far off from what I said. So that's good.
No,
but
yeah, I mean, you erased that Denver loss that I gave them just for the storyline's sake. There, I'm not saying it just for the storyline's sake either. I do think that if they pull 2 hard losses there, it's a young team looking ahead of the bye week there. I think they could lose to Denver, especially away.
I think it would be really interesting. That's a weird concept to me. They lose 2 in a row, and then they start looking ahead at the bye week. Like it would make more sense to me if they were on a 2-game winning streak and they had a bad opponent, and then they were like, "Oh, okay, we got this." So I mean, just being like looking ahead to the bye week on a 2-game losing streak to make it a 3-game losing streak, that just seems like a mess. Also, If you really wanted a great storyline, you would have said dub against Tampa, and then they win every game after that, and go to the NFC Championship game to get steamrolled by your favorite team, the 49ers.
Yeah, that actually. Yeah. After that loss to Denver, it just lights a fire underneath them, and they win every single game till the NFC Championship, and then just get flattened
By the Niners, right? I got it right, right?
by the Niners with Trey Lance under center because Jimmy G suffered an injury in the playoffs.
On the first play of that game.
And on the first play of that game. Yeah.
Chase Young. Or Duron Payne, Jeez. One of the two. A combo, actually.
Yeah, the NFL should just start making everything script and bring us in to write it because this is great material. Come on, the ratings would be through the roof.
I mean, I want to, like, anyone who says that this is a very stupid thing to end on, but anyone who says the NFL is scripted, it's like, dude, you realize that, like, how do you script like an insane one-hand catch? Like, you need to catch this. Like, if you don't catch this, it's gonna screw up the entire scripting of the game. It's like there's no way. But
how do you script Alex Smith breaking his leg and almost dying? All right, JJ, we know you're the poster boy for good boys in the NFL.
Just bend it backwards. Gonna need you. Yeah. What? No, come on. I
make that leg go the other way.
Yeah. Well, this is a long one, but hopefully people got our point. We got our point across in that we really believe in the Washington football team.
Yes, very, very much. Very much.
All right. Just because I guess we haven't been talking about too many playoff teams necessarily, but now we're talking about playoff teams again, at least from last season. So chances are it's more likely that these teams would go back to the playoffs than not. So with that said, how far do you think this team could go?
I think they can win a wild card game.
You don't think they can get past that?
At this point, I don't know.
At
this point in the offseason, I don't know.
If everything went perfectly, I was just asking you what they could do. If everything went perfectly, I think they could lose the Super Bowl. But what I actually think will happen is that they'll probably be knocked out in the divisional round.
Yeah, that's more realistic. I mean, you could probably say that about every team that we think is going to go to the playoffs. I mean, if everything goes right, they could lose in the Super Bowl.
No, because there's some that I would say if everything goes right, they could win the Super Bowl. I think meeting up with whatever AFC team they may meet up with in the Super Bowl, if they somehow made it to the Super Bowl after like one off season of massive change, that would be wild. But I don't think they would be able to pull that off.
Yeah, they're gonna get their. I mean, in my reality, they're going to get their Super Bowl against Tampa Bay there, winning that game. But
fair.
I think they could pull a wild card.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I mean, I think they're going to win the division. Home game, definitely think they can win one game at least.
Mm-hmm.
All right. All set?
Yeah, I think we cut this here.